Hello everyone, good evening, good day, good morning. I don't know where you are at the world, but I'm happy that you're here. And today in our session we're going to talk about faith, about reason. We'll try to understand what does it mean, and how it is related to Kabbalah and to the spiritual work we talk about in Kabbalah. And hopefully we'll take some questions and answer some answers to those questions. Good. So, everything seems to be working fine. Let us begin. So, faith above reason. So already in previous sessions, we've talked about the fact that as Kabbalah explains reality, we know that in the beginning, you can say, or in the initial states, if you don't want to talk in terms of time, there was a single creature, one object, something which is called the soul, the general soul, or whatever, but some concept of oneness, you can say one network, I don't know how you want to call it, one entity, one spiritual entity, different names for that. In Kabbalah we call it sometimes Adam Arishon, the first man. And this general soul, this object, was divided later to many, many parts. And the reason that it was divided to so many parts, that each part stands on its own, is the fact, or the goal, you can say, or the purpose, that each part, from its point of division, from its point of individuality, will acquire and attain the perception of the whole body, of the general whole. And by that, Kabbalah say that we multiply the attainment of the state of oneness according to the divisions that we have. So the more divisions that we have, the more we need to overcome them, the more this overcoming or these efforts allow us to attain or to perceive or to understand the state of oneness or of connection in a deeper way. Okay, so this is like a principle, this is like a basic principle in Kabbalah, okay? So what is the force of division? So in our world I can take like a slice of bread, or this looks like a cake, I don't know how it looks to you, and I cut it with a knife. But in spirituality, what is this force that actually cuts and separates one entity into two or many more? It is called the will to receive, or the self, or the ego. But this is some kind of illusion, because again, in the basic form everything is one, but it's some kind of an illusion that allows me to perceive myself as unique, self-standing, independent part that is separated from the rest of reality. So we have this ego, and the force which is against the ego we call the force of the creator, what you can call the force of connection or love. So against it we have love or oneness, which is the creator. Now, all the spiritual ladder is actually different steps or degrees between a state of complete separation, which is called our world, in which I perceive only my ego. In Kabbalah sometimes we call it my egoistic heart, like the egoistic desires that I have. So I perceive only my ego. But because again, okay, we talked about it in one of the previous sessions, but what's unique or special in this creature, which is called a man or a woman, like the speaking level, is that it is a combined of two forces, not only one. So if we would be acting only by the ego, according to like the egoistic nature, this would be like the animal level or the vegetative level. So we'll be doing nature's commands or law, or we would be acting or executing nature laws in instinctive kind of automatic or robotic or lacking free choice kind of way, okay? So we are combined from the beginning from these two forces. But on the lower state, the force of this oneness, or what we call the point in the heart, like this unique point of the Creator, is concealed. It's like unconscious. And a person identifies himself with the ego, with his corporal body. He perceives himself as thinking on his own, feeling on his own, having five senses and engaging with the world on his own. And on the highest level, we have a state in which a person actually identifies himself with the whole system, with this oneness, and perceive no self of his own. And in between we have like many degrees. And this is like the spiritual ladder that we need to climb. Now, in our world we have a lot of we have a lot of conflicts or paradoxes which are a result of the fact that we have these two forces in us. So, for example, we know on one hand that we are extremely happy, or the number one source of happiness is connection with others, is being connected. There are many studies on the fact that if a person is even capable of feeling something outside of himself, some kind of purpose or a whole or others, then people describe some kind of spiritual enlightenment or some kind of uplifting sensation. So we know that this is a good thing, this collective. We also know that there are problems that we cannot solve alone. That's why we have organizations, we have countries, we have cities, we have families, we have some kind of structures that allow us to combine forces or to unite or work together. On the other hand, we know that the easiest way to work is working on our own. That's where we have the most motivation. Everything is very clear. I can set goals, attain them or not, measure myself. And when I need to work with others, it's a problem because I don't know if I can trust them. I need to coordinate with them. Sometimes I'm dependent on them. And we see that in many places also, like all our politics and our forms of social order are always in between trying to be together and then losing the ego as a motivating force and like the dominating force that allows each person to realize himself and attain some kind of some kind of self-achievements and being is like a self-made man or whatever, or allowing the ego to thrive, and then we are risking the fact that we'll have a society that falls apart, that there is no glue, nothing to stick people together, and we have a very alienated kind of society without any connection between people, and a lot of depressions and antidepressants and drugs and stuff, okay? And there is always tension between the two. And Kabbalah says actually that the only solution is that you need to learn how to realize this ego or this self inside a system of connection. So you shouldn't give up your ego. And that's not an easy thing to do, apparently, because of the way we are built. But working according to this sense of oneness, according to one's part or attainment of the general system, is called in Kabbalah faith. And what a person attains or perceives or feels or thinks inside of himself is called reason. And so we have different relations between faith and reason. So if, for example, I understand that my ego is causing me a lot of pain, a lot of problems, a lot of suffering, and I want to feel some kind of connection with others or something outside of myself, then the easiest solution is just to erase reason. So I'm erasing reason, and I just want to work in faith. This state is called faith below reason. So this is usually some kind of a fundamental, fanatic kind of nullification, of self-nullification. So you have people going into religion in this way, to different spiritual sects or whatever, or trying to live like animals in nature without their ego. And the problem with this, it's lowering the level of man into the level of animal. So you have people just doing what they're being told, don't want to think, to feel, sometimes even taking drugs or things that will dose their self-sensitivity, and just not to feel ourselves, not to feel anything, just something outside of myself. This is called faith below reason. The problem with that, again, is that it doesn't allow any development or any evolution of a person. It just leaves him in like a state of an animal or a vegetative. And that's why nature actually resists this attempt. So even sometimes huge cultures, let's talk about, I don't know, like the Far East, were capable of containing the people in some kind of simple method of living, or I don't know, like the monotheistic religions for many years, that a person doesn't think of its own, it just performs, it doesn't hold anymore. And we see, like in the last 100 of years, we see this, we see how the ego erupts everywhere and just grows and tries to fight back this attempt to nullify it. The other way of working is like the modern way of working. So I'm saying that I have reason, and I don't believe anything that I didn't investigate or studied, or that I actually can measure in my five senses. So this is like a scientific kind of approach to life. And I cannot work with something that I don't sense, like this. Maybe there is something that is like oneness or some kind of a network that connects us all, but I don't feel it. I feel myself. That's what I feel. And I can only work by my ego and according to my intellect and to my senses, and I cannot work according to something else. And what can I do? So I just nullify this work of faith, and I'm just working according to the ego. And this is how people actually develop in this world. The problem is that this ego usually leaves us empty. So it doesn't matter how much we want to feel it, how much we thrive to fulfill ourselves, to realize ourselves, but the moment we actually attain something, we want much more. And we are never, just a second, and we are never content. So our life are like this endless race of lack of fulfillment, and of actually, let's say it's a race after happiness that we can never reach. For periods of time or for moments we can sense it, but as a general state we cannot. Okay, and then we have the Kabbalistic kind of way, which actually says that we need to practice faith above reason. And what is faith above reason? That is not easy, because we are lacking that in our world. We see only this one of these two forms of working, like either you work in faith or you work in reason, but how do you combine them both? So what Kabbalists actually say is that the only way to combine them both is by understanding that what you perceive or act or sense as you, meaning as a self, you need to understand also that you are part of something bigger than you. And you need to work with others that want to feel the same, that they are part of something bigger than you. And so you are always in this state of self, that I'm going according to my intellect, my senses, my feelings, just like every scientist, but I'm always playing and attempting, just like a little child, to sense something which is bigger than me, like a higher connection, some kind of connection to others. And this is like my goal of life, just like exiting the ego into a higher sphere. And in this way of working, like the self becomes like the acting body, you can say, or the force that acts, but the head or the part that takes the decision, the goal in life, the purpose, is always related to a higher level of connection. And if you work in that way all the time, you don't actually go up the ladder in a linear way, but it's more like a spiral way, because every time you are you sense your ego, or your ego is controlling you, or you are feeling only yourself, and you are attempting to attain some kind of higher connection to others, something that is bigger than you, the general network, some sense of oneness, and some sense of connection. And to a certain extent, you are capable of doing them, combining them, by making this oneness more important than yourself. And if you are capable of doing that, if you're actually successful and you attain that, and you attain, let's say, level number 1, then in order to help you grow, you receive more ego. And so again, you need to make this attempt to go above yourself and combine them both in level number 2. And this is how we climb the ladder, the spiritual ladder. And because every time we have more effort, more ego, we are becoming much more smarter. So we become like bigger or more advanced or greater scientists of the spiritual reality, of our reality, and also this spiritual reality of working with these two forces, with this oneness and separation, on one hand. On the other hand, we receive this force that allows us to nullify the self, that actually grows this ego, and by this effort of doing that, we attain more of the oneness, more of the love, because we suppressed or we went above or overcame a bigger minus, so we attain a bigger plus. And that's like in short the principle of faith above reason and how we advance in spirituality. Okay, let's take some questions. By the way, you have a lot of good materials that I've pasted in the links in the description. Also short articles and a webinar and many good stuff that you can look into. Okay, now let's take some questions. So let's see on Facebook if we have questions. So Adam is saying hello, Kelechi, David, Sophia, good afternoon and good week from Brazil. So it's good afternoon in Brazil. Sisi is here. Hey, Sisi. Sisi is a student of the KBU. David is always also here, but no questions on Facebook. Let's see on YouTube. Lucy is asking, a soul is needed to experience the full Kabbalah, not all have a soul, all have a spirit. Well, actually in Kabbalah we say that you have like a point in the heart, which is like, you can say, a potential or a seed of the soul, and to the extent that you develop it through your connection with others, as I as I've explained in this method of faith above reason, that's how you bring this information from potential into realization. This is calling developing your soul. Okay, thanks. Thank you, good. How could the Creator think? Actually, we don't talk about the Creator, like trying to think what, or to describe what the Creator thinks. It's impossible because we are never like Him. What we can actually describe is how I will think, or how I am thinking when I'm attaining a higher level of connection, when I become more similar to the Creator. So actually I can only talk about me in a more corrected state. So me attaining more of the Creator, I can, according to that, say how does the Creator thinks or acts to the level that I've attained Him. The soul has to develop by cultivating the spirit. I don't know what you mean by cultivating the spirit, but the soul is developed by you practicing or playing in wanting to connect to something which is outside of you, usually others that want the same. Because if you try doing that with people on the street, they won't understand what you want. Everybody's working according to their ego. But if you have this environment of people that want to develop in spirituality, and with them you practice or you play in being more connected, then you allow this force of oneness in nature, or love, or whatever you want to call it, the force of life, to change you. And this is a free choice, as you've asked, because when I'm in this state, when I'm evolving in spirituality, I all the time have 50% of my ego controlling me and 50% of this oneness, or the force of life, or the Creator, whatever you want to call it, controlling me. And in between them, I can always determine which one do I determine that is more important. Like it's more important for me at this moment than in life to cleave or to attain adhesion with the Creator, or it's more important to serve the self. So actually the free choice is which force am I serving between the two. Yeah, that's exactly what it means, loving your God, loving the Lord, or the God. That's actually what it means. It's not only controlling yourself, it's actually like what's the word in English? It's actually allowing the force of oneness or connection rule over the ego inside of yourself. I'm sure there is a better word in English, just my English really sucks. My wife always makes fun of me. How do I teach in English? So I'm telling her that I'm faking it until I'm making it. And let's see if there's a better word. Yeah, so like govern or master. So you allow this force of love or of connection govern over the love over the force of hatred, of selfishness, the force that separates you from others. Okay, where was I? I don't know. Okay, that's it with questions. Do we have more time? We have like 5 minutes. I don't know if we actually have time to go to some of the links I've posted. Really good stuff. You should go over them. Maybe we'll just do... No, it's too long. What is this method? This is long. This is also long. This is also long. Okay, so we cannot do that. Let's just do a... Let's just begin it maybe. What is this method called faith above reason? So there are 3 paths one can take: above reason, within reason, and below reason. Reason is the self of man, his concept, his mentality, and his education. Below reason is action without self-criticism or examination. It is a state where reason is not taking into account you see, I cannot pronounce it. Fanaticism, faith at all cost, is accepted without examination. Okay, so this is, we've talked about it, okay? So this is what we've said here, which is a faith below reason, this state. Okay, I'm jumping a bit forward. Within reason means that a person examines and accepts only that which is suitable for one's conception of reality. It is an inner faith, a state where a person relies on reason, senses, and everything available from the inner nature. Yeah, like I'm going to a doctor, he tells me I need this medicine, I believe him. So according to my senses and what I know, I should believe a doctor, and I'm taking what he said. So it's not actually faith, it's more like logic. And it's in my ego. And above reason means that a person examines data, sees that it opposes one's perception of reality, because in his data, in his ego, he sees separation, he sees only himself, but accepts it anyway, even if it is against one's better judgment and understanding. Why? Not because he wants to eliminate his reason, because this reason stems from the upper one, whom one trusts more than self. Yeah, so it comes from a higher level of connection, and that's how it works. So again, for us, it's not really easy to depict or to like differentiate above reason from below reason, but it comes with time and with practice. And that's how it is. Okay, we have a question. Oh, nice. Now people start sending things in Spanish, which is like a new level. How am I supposed to translate this Spanish? Sometimes Google, Facebook allows you to translate comments, but let's see. I cannot translate it. Translate from Spanish. Okay. Okay. So in Spanish, I was told that my English is not so good, and I better speak in my own language. Well, if I speak in Hebrew, I'm not sure you'll understand, but so I'm trying the best I can do with English. Sorry. Well, there are other teachers that actually teach in English. You know that it's their mother's tongue, so you can just connect to them. What would you recommend a person who enters the environment for the first time? Usually when we enter an environment for the first time, naturally we're like embryos, we're like small kids. Our ego allows us to just try to be nice to everybody, listen to everybody, try to take example from others, and you envy them, you want to be like them. That's the best way to evolve. Also in our world, that's how children evolve. They want to be like the grown-ups, they take example from them. They don't let their ego, actually the nature doesn't let their ego get in the way. When they become teenagers and the ego goes in the and like get into action, that's much harder for them to learn from the environment. Eddie is saying that he could translate the Spanish. No, I got along with Google Translate, it's okay. Okay, so sorry guys, now people are saying about my English, which is good. Well, thank you very much for encouraging me. Don't worry, anyway, I'm pretty determined on faking it until I'm making it even in English. So think about it like this. 2 years ago my English was worse when I was teaching, and probably if I continue it will be better, hopefully in a year or two. So we're like children, we play until we grow, also in corporality. Okay, so thank you very much for being around, and see you next week, same time. You can search this playlist for previous sessions. It will really help you if you haven't seen all the sessions in this series of concepts in Kabbalah. And that's it. Take care and bye for now.